أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. We have been discussing subject matter of taqwa and its different aspects which and its components which go together to make taqwa basically. Just to recapitulate, taqwa includes connectivity, intelligence, all types of intelligence, cognition, and all types of cognition. They all go together to make taqwa. And it's only when these all come together, then we can talk of haqqa tuqatihi. That is, the haqq of taqwa can be performed. And within that sphere of each, like cognition, there are different components, and within intelligence, there are different aspects, and so on. So cognition is not just a one aspect, but cognition itself is a component or a composition of various aspects, and there are different levels of cognition. One level is called metacognition, above cognition, shawri Allah, idraki Allah. And we find that some people in history, we find that they had metacognition. Even if we don't we talk about the prophets, they definitely had metacognition Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given. As in the case of the Ibrahim Isa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I had strengthened him, I had enhanced his capabilities and features with my ruh, with my command, with the software which I had given him, that he was able to have cognition even in childhood, in the life of mother. So metacognition, even besides prophets, there are many instances in history where we find that other people, they also enjoyed this favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, Umar. Some people call it telepathy. Some people, in case of Abu Bakr, call it that he had a super understanding of things. And there are many instances of Sahaba who could look into the future and plan accordingly. They could understand it better than others. So metacognition is awareness of one's thought process. Last time we had left the discussion here. It is a thought process where one understands one's own thoughts, what I'm thinking, why I'm thinking like this. We usually don't consider, we don't analyze our thoughts. The Quran, for example, invites attention that those people whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the capability of metacognition, if something happens, for example, there is any invitation of sin, there is anything which is giving shuhan nafs, which is instigating nafs, they immediately open their eyes. The Quran tells, they open their eyes that why I'm thinking like this, why this instigation or stigma or any stimulus from outside is inspiring me or it instigating me to commit such a thing. Why I'm paying attention to it, why I'm looking at it, why I continue to look at it, why I frequently look at it, why do I think about it frequently. They analyze their own thought process. If this thought process is not there, then ultimately the person will start taking the sin itself as an ordinary thing. He will not analyze it. If somebody is given metacognition and he does not use it, don't understand it, don't analyze one's own actions, then ultimately he will ignore everything and go with the wind. So it's a understanding of one's own thought process and understanding of patterns behind them. One analyzes not only that why I thought this, but the one will also analyze that what are the reasons behind it. What is the pattern of those reasons? What is the pattern of those conditions that is stimulating me? Then it is a subject which is being taught in the universities, and people get higher degrees in it. Cognitive studies examine function and capacity, both function and capacity of human attention. If somebody is paying attention to one's own actions, to one's own thought process, this is the starting point. So it includes study of human attention. Quran is inviting attention that you look at the mistakes of others, but you don't look at your own mistakes. You don't pay attention to your own behavior, your own conduct, your own words, your own thought process. You pay attention to the mistakes of others, whether he will go to Jannat or Jahannam, but we don't think about our own selves. Particularly in analyzing the collective conduct or culture of Jews at that time, Quran has referred to such incidents. Human attention, human memory, and human capacity of retrieval, zikr, that how much he can retrieve through the processes of thinking, through the process of fikr, through the process of tadabbur, how much he can retrieve, zikr. So attention, memory, and retrieval. And these factors combine to strengthen metacognition to the levels of metacognition. If we don't pay attention, even if we have a good memory, it will not complete the requirements of metacognition or even the cognition itself. Now, awareness is a state of being conscious of the other. This also we had discussed last time, that it is the state of being understanding the position of the other. And in understanding the other, it means the understanding the position of the cosmos. That is the worldview. And above all, understanding Allah Himself, that I am not all, I don't know anything, I am not independent, I am subject to something else. I am not independent, I am interdependent, but there is something which is above all and above everything. And what is that? And Ibrahim, for example, Ibrahim alayhi salam made an effort, and he reached the conclusion that behind the sun, behind the moon, behind the cosmos, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is the ability, metacognition, and then we are discussing it's a different, in fact, the sub-level ability, cognition is the ability to directly know, perceive, and feel, or to be cognizant of the other, of everything else, and above all, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here, it's important to note is to know, to perceive, and feel directly. We don't need an intermediary. We don't need any mullah in between. We don't need any other person to mediate in between. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly asks, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي أَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. There's no need of intermediary. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Prophet, his own Prophet, himself, not any other person. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي, my ibadi, my abd, my slave is asking you, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ, when he is asking you, فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ, although I am already near to him, I am already nearer to him, but still he is coming to ask you for anything. But here people are going to the graves to ask for something, to make a dua. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي أَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ, although already I am there, قَرِيب to him, Ujib. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling, I am the one who accepts the dua. Ujib, I am the acceptor. I accept. I redesign things for you. Ujib is the one who has the authority, capability to redesign things for us. Ujib, dawata da. Here word dua is not used. The word is dawa. When one makes a dawa on me, Hazrat Zakaria alayhi salam made a dawa. When he came to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, Lam akum bi du'aika rabbi shakiya. I am never in any doubt when I ask you. Lam akum bi du'aika rabbi shakiya. When I make dua to you, when I make dawa to you, when I ask you, I am never in doubt. And what he asked for. When we go to the doctor, we tell him everything. When you and physically you are present before him and talking to him, telling him, explaining to him. Hazrat Zakaria alayhi salam was talking to him not with an absent mind. He was not absent-minded before God. He was fully attentive. And he told God, I have become old, I'm feeble, I've crossed my age, my bone marrow is not working. Now it is impossible for me to reproduce. And another impossibility, that my wife is born barren. She cannot reproduce. So myself and my wife, husband and wife, both are barren. They cannot reproduce. This is impossible. My Lord, I have come to you. And I have no doubt in asking you, give me a son. Give me a waris. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that I accepted his call. Not only that he will get a son, but he said that he elaborated the qualities of Yahya alayhi salam. And he himself named him as Yahya. And he told him that I will make him the prophet. You ask one thing and he gives you many. Directly. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي أَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ إِنِّي قَرِيبٌ إِنَّ رَبِّي لَسَمِيعُ الدُّعَاء. It doesn't say that Allah listens through somebody. He directly listens. The only question is, Dawat ad-da'i. Is the da'i making a dawa? Is the seeker making a dawa on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you are the Lord? You can do this, only you will do this, and you will definitely do this when I'm asking you. Or it is a very important aspect of cognition to be so cognizant of the power of God. We all the time say, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allah is there. But are we cognizant of His power? Do we have idrak of His power? And we ask others. Or to be cognizant of. One has to be cognizant of the power of Allah. When we say we believe in Allah, it means that we are aware of Allah. When we say we are aware of Allah, then we have to be cognizant of Allah. What is being cognizant of Allah? Ihsan. Whatever I do, I am seeing God. Whatever I do, if I can't see Him, He is seeing me. And He is taking cognizance of every action of mine. Everything I do, everything I think. Even I think, He is before that. Yahul ben al mar'i wa qalbihi. He exists before even the thought process. His existence. So are we cognizant? He is listening, but are we listening to Him? This relationship is the manifestation of cognition, and the level of this relationship shows the level of cognition, that is metacognition. Now, there is another aspect which we forget, particularly those who propagate, who just plead, or who just talk about the relationship of God with personal, and relationship with God which is not related to the personal conduct, which is not related to the interpersonal conduct, but they say that it is between God and me. You have heard many people drinking, and they say it's between God and me. People committing sin, and they say it's between God and me. Nobody should else talk about it. And now even the slogan, my body, my choice. That is my choice. Why are you concerned? Why God should be concerned with it? What does that show? That we are simply relating our relationship directly to God without any action, without any character. Can we consider any culture? And I'm raising this question, on which all the scientists, the sociologists agree. Is there any culture which is conceivable without taboos? No, they all say no. There have to be taboos. What are taboos? Taboos are limitations. What are limitations? Limitations are hudud Allah. Hudud, limitations, taboos. Without taboos, there is no culture. Without taboos, there is no game even. Without limits, without boundaries, there's no game, no function. Without dimensions, there is no existence. Mind has dimensions. Everything, when we say something, everything has dimensions. We can't think without it. So how can there be a relationship with God when there are no taboos in personal character, in personal conduct? How can there be relationship with God when there is no character? And collectively, how can there be a culture without taboos, without limits, without hudud? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defines them as hudud Allah. These are hudud Allah. What does this discussion bring us to? There is a personality, there is a person, there is a persona, there is a personal entity. It is here that the Protestants and the Catholics differed. Protestants said it is only between God and man. They went too far. When they rebelled against the Catholic Church, they went too far and they made everything only between God and himself, which has ultimately brought us to the question that my body, my choice. They have now eliminated even God. Here, what is the unit of a unit on the basis of which we can understand this equation? The unit is the human person, the persona, the personality, shakhsiyat, which Quran calls nafs. We have made the definitions and explanations of nafs so ineffable that we don't understand what is nafs. Nafs is a very important subject of discussion in the Quran, which gives us the whole subject of nafsiyat, psychology. Whole subject of nafsiyat, psychology, is discussed under the title of nafs. The meaning of nafs in the Quran at different places is different in different ayat. When you collect all these together in the entire context of Quran, in the conduct of human being and the collective conduct of people, you find that they define different aspects of nafsiyat, the psychology. And what is there, what is that which regulates the nafs? Ma sawaha wa nafs. Yes, there is nafs, there is shakhsiyat, there is person, but what regulates him? Ma sawaha. Allah himself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself raises the question so that you go deeper into this subject, into Quran. Find it from Quran. But we say no. But I have read wa nafsin wa ma sawaha, and then I've got all the sawab. Read the subject of nafsiyat through Quran, psychology, personality, shakhsiyat, how Quran makes the shakhsiyat. Psychology is the scientific study of mind and behavior at different places in the discussion of nafs. Quran is discussing nafsiyat, and what Quran is discussing in nafsiyat is the mind and behavior of the person, personality, and collectively as a culture, which they collectively go to form culture. So Quran is discussing psychology at an individual level, person's level, and at a collective level as a culture. When the word nafs is used and when the word anfus is used, what is the difference? What is the difference between nufusakum and anfusakum? Two different levels are being discussed. The individual personal level, fi nafsika, fi nufusakum, and the cultural collective level, anfusakum, collectively. So mind and behavior is the subject matter of the title of the subject of nafs. And it has been discussed at different places, different aspects of psychology of human being discussed. For example, shuhan nafs. What instigates the nafs? What instigates the nafs that it ultimately, if it is not controlled, if it is not regulated, ma sawaha, if it is not regulated, it becomes ammara. It becomes nafs al-ammara. So mind and behavior is the subject matter of nafs. If we don't understand nafs, then we will not understand taqwa. Because that is the unit of person, unit as person. Scientific study of human mind and its functions, from where the behavior comes. The behavior is a manifestation of the functions of mind. And what includes mind? In Quran, it includes sadr, it includes qalb, it includes fawad, and then It includes the capacity of all the input which we take, how it is being utilized by these processors, Fawad, Qalb, and Sadr, how it is being processed. Human mind and its functions affecting human conduct. They affect human conduct. And if the human conduct is affected, it affects the culture, ultimately, collectively, when we are saying human conduct, from individual to the collective level. So science of mind, study of mental process, metacognition, and science of personality. What is nafsiyat? It is the scientific study of, or it is the science of mind, it is the science of mental process, it is the science of personality. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew that the man is not initiating the discussion. He himself initiated a discussion. At many places, Allah himself asked the questions. Mama adrak, do you have cognition? Do you understand this thing? Ma sawa nafs, ma sawaha. What is that regulates the nafs? You ask any scholar, what regulates nafs? They will just tell you ma nafs sawaha. They will give you the best karat of this. But kindly ask them, what is that which regulates? Quran has asked this question 1500 years back. Ma sawaha. What is that regulates the nafs? Why didn't we produce different studies, scientific research on the subject of shakhsiyat, person, nafsiyat from Quran? No. But just read for sawab. What regulates it is a question. Ma sawaha. That still remains there. We have not replied it. At random, you ask any imam, any alim, what is that which regulates the person, personality, persona, psychology, psyche of a person? What regulates it? And that ultimately regulates the person and the society, the individual and the society, the nafs and the anfus. Study of thought process shows that what is thought process? Thought process is the way of thinking. Way of thinking. I give an example. Some people may be unhappy with that. For example, if we say how people, but if you forgive me, I say how Muslims or a particular Muslim community or some say group of Muslims living together in one community at one place. What is their way of thinking? How do they think? Do they think honestly? Do they think that telling a lie is cognizable? Allah will take cognizance of this. Allah takes cognizance of this. They'll be punished for this. What is the way of their thinking? They think it's ordinary thing. Not it's the basic thing, but they take it ordinarily. Way of thinking. If our way of thinking is our metacognition, our cognition at the lower level is not correct, we don't even know about it, then how will we understand ma adrak, ma sawa? Psychology of interpersonal relationships. This is again a very, very important subject of Quran. It is regulated by Quran. Limits are drawn by Quran, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. Hudud Allah. Interpersonal relationships. At 14 places in Quran, uses the phrase Tilka Hudud Allah. Collect these 14 places. Tilka Hudud Allah. Analyze them. What are they talking about? These hudud. At 14 places, Tilka Hudud Allah, Hudud Allah, are only talking about the interpersonal relationships, human relationships, which involve human relations, which involve human rights. And most part of it relates to the relationship between husband and wife. Husband and wife, I'm repeating. And along with every statement, Hudud discussed Hudud as Hudud Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling, I'm watching. These are cognizable. I'm recording. You will come back to me. I will take you to task. I will take hisab. And then along with these, Hudud Allah, the punishments are mentioned. In this world, there may be some physical punishments, some fines. But there, when the judgment before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes place, and He takes the cognizance in interpersonal relationship, why the little girl, why the innocent woman was killed, why the innocent person was tortured, why the innocent person was hurt. There, the punishment is only and only by fire. And I emphasize that the interpersonal relationship is the subject matter of Hudud Allah. Interpersonal relationships of human beings, interpersonal relationships of husband and wife. When they come for counseling, they take this interpersonal relationship very loosely, very lightly. They don't bother about it. They don't consider anything about it. I had emphasized, I think last time also, that the first dialogue from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first statement, first call from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Adam alayhi salam after his upgradation and placement in the sanctuary in the Jannat was a call, calling his attention. Ya Adam, uskun, remain in peace, conduct yourself in peace, behave in peace, you and your wife in the Jannah. Here, you analyze the conduct of a person. He may be very polite in his office. He may be very polite to you. He may be polite everywhere else in the human relationship. But in the house, look at his response to the wife. Look at the pitch of voice of his with his wife, with his sons, with his daughters, with his mother, in the family. This is where we violate this interpersonal relationship limits, hudud Allah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this cannot be corrected unless we correct this nafsiyat aspect of person, psyche of person. Ma savaha, what regulates it? We don't understand it. Interpersonal relationships, ways of observation, they depend on psychology of interpersonal relationships, ways of observation, understanding. How do we look at our relationship, observe relationships, how we observe our relationships within the family. I'm talking about a unit where we can act. I'm not talking about the entire society. I also talk about this thing that mostly I talk about the family, because that is the unit where we can make some improvement and make a contribution, because family is the building block of culture and civilization. Observation. Observe your behavior with your mother, with your wife, with your children, within the family. Understanding and point of view. My own point of view. My world view. How do I feel about it? My worldview is today that if I perform Umrah, if I perform Hajj, if I perform Nawafil, then I can do anything I like. I can usurp the right of my sister. I can misbehave with my wife or husband. I can do anything. This is my worldview, and I'll get away with it. I'll go for Umrah and I'll come back completely purified. We don't believe in the world of cause and effect. That I have caused something, there is an effect. There's a double entry system of recording. There are Kiraman Katibin. There are two scribes, left and right, debit and credit recording. Ultimately, the account will be produced on the basis of whatever has been recorded. Recorded. It's not deleted. It doesn't say that when you perform Umrah and when you come before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, then you will find that your account is deleted. Nothing is deleted. It remains there. There are different aspects. Allah may give you satr. Allah may give us satr. He may hide them. People may not be able to see our weaknesses, but they are there. Allah is Ghaffar. He may provide Ghaffar. He may protect us. You wear a protection when you drive on a motorcycle, in a car. You have a protection. But the chances are there. Ultimately, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is awful. He can himself ignore anything, whatever he likes, and give his judgment. But is awful, is mitigation. He may delete it himself. Nobody else has the authority. Nobody else can do that. Does anybody have an authority? Does anybody have seen those Kiraman Katibin, those scientific writers, everything being recorded in nature? Can he control them? Can he order them, don't write this thing? Only Allah is the power. So what is my worldview? What is my point of view about my conduct? How do I understand? Understanding is not just understanding myself. Understanding the position of the other in interrelationship is the definition of understanding. When I say that there is understanding between husband and wife, it does not mean that the husband understands himself and wife understands himself. No. The understanding between wife and husband means that husband has the understanding of the wife's position and wife has the understanding of the husband's position. In international negotiations, in the United Nations, when the negotiations take place, and for example, the statement issues that the position, now the parties understand the position, each other's position. Now they understand that how the other party is thinking, what the other party wants. So understanding the position of the other is the understanding. Same is the case in the family. And observation. We are totally ignorant. Our eyes are closed within the family. We don't observe any rule, regulation, any law. Our own behavior. How do I react with my wife or with my husband? We don't analyze these things. We don't observe these things. About the others, about the position of the others. If we don't do all these things, if we don't understand and behave whatever I've discussed here, then kindly take a note that our psychology is defective. We may be bipolar, we may be schizophrenic, we may have other defects in the personality, in the nafsiyat, And ma sabaha, what regulates the nafs, what regulates the psyche, what regulates the nafsiyat, what regulates my own personal behavior, I don't understand. Because I don't understand what regulates it. What is that which regulates? If you go through the nafsiyat of Quran, we find everything is there. It is there. Counseling psychology is psychotherapy. This is my everyday subject. But I think this will take a longer time. I've already covered about 41, 42 minutes. So I think I stop here. Counseling psychology is psychotherapy. I think 2 years back, discussed this subject, that what is counseling? And we had discussed it at length. I think we had about 6 or 8 lectures on this. What is counseling? How do we counsel? So counseling psychology is a psychotherapy. Subhan rabbika rabbil izzat amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. If there is any observation, kindly guide me. If there is no discussion, then may I request Brother Jafar al-Sharaf to kindly lead the dua.
جزاك الله خير دكتور شهزادو، وبارك الله فيك. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد. يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك الكريم وعظيم سلطانك. اللهم يا حكيم يا عليم يا علي يا عظيم يا رب يا ودود يا ذو العرش المجيد يا فعال لما يريد. اللهم نسألك بأسمائك الحسنى وصفاتك العلى. اللهم يا حي يا قيوم. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت، وعافنا فيمن عافيت، وتولنا فيمن توليت، وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت، وقنا برحمتك شر ما قضيت، فإنك تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك، إنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت، تباركت ربنا وتعاليت. اللهم يا حي يا قيوم نسألك بأسمائك الحسنى أن تشافي مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين جميعا. اللهم تساعد إخواننا في فلسطين وفي كل أرجاء الأرض يا حي يا قيوم. نسألك باسمك الأعظم، نسألك بأسمائك الحسنى وصفاتك العلى، بفضل سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا.